All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Welcome to the presentation about ObservePoint standards. It's gonna be technical. So I'm basically pretty practical here. I'm looking for specific examples for specific problems we are solving as ObservePoint, as a company, as a product for you, for our customers, potential customers, and for everyone else who might need help with data governance and privacy regulations. So the topic today is standards, work smarter, not harder. And the reason of this slogan is because ObservePoint standards is the part of the product which helps you automate everything, what you're paying attention to. If you want to verify that you're accurate, basically that your data governance processes are working correctly, then you might want to use rules for that. If you want to verify that your privacy is working, privacy compliance is working correctly, that the cookies are not leaking and stuff like that, you might want to use consent categories or alerts for that. And this tool is basically can be integrated in your pipelines. It can be working 24/7 for you, saving lots of time. So let's move on. Let's take a look at the agenda today. So we will take a look into how to set up different types of standards for at ObservePoint in our product. We'll take a look how you can integrate the results we will be sending to you into your tools you use. And we'll be doing some advanced use cases. So those use cases hopefully will be relevant for you. If not, I'll be here for 2 days and you can ask me for more if you have more. All right. So by the end of the presentation, I'm hoping that you will learn how to save your time with ObservePoint, how to reduce the amount of errors you have in your data, duplicated tags, missing tags, and then wrong accounts, and then cookies which are firing where they shouldn't, and all that stuff. I want you to make your data trustworthy. So basically when you're looking to your dashboards and your analytics, you know that you can trust that data. You know that it's verified, that it's validated and working correctly. And that's my goal. If I fail with it, then let me know. Come to me. Come to Yuri. Yuri is our architect. He is basically architecting all of these products we're currently will be talking about, and ask us questions. We'll be happy to answer those. All right, let's move on. So the standards. 3 types of product lines we have. One is alerts, another one is tag and variable rules, and the third one is consent categories. Who here in the audience have already used alerts? Okay, that's pretty cool. I see a lot of hands from ObservePoint crew. That's great. I'm glad you guys at least used them. Okay, and then who has used tag and variable rules? All right, that's pretty cool. Good to see. And consent categories. Okay, less people. But I think this is bad, because consent categories will probably bring you the main value and will reduce the fines your company's paying for all of those privacy regulations. Okay, so with the standards, basically, when ObservePoint is scanning your data, is scanning your websites, and basically mimicking the behavior of the user, of the end user of your website, we make sure that analytics tags fire in the right place, that they're not missing, that they're not duplicated. We're making sure that your page is loading quickly, and that can be done with alerts, with the Web Vitals, the feature we have released recently. And then we make sure that your cookies not only firing when they shouldn't, but also that they have the right values. And We make sure that the geolocation for all of the requests which are happening on your websites is going to the right place, and many, many more. Basically, the main part here which I want to announce is that all of the metrics that ObservePoint is collecting, all of the data, can be used with the standards. So you can set up rules, you can set up alerts, you can set up consent categories to verify the data points. And we'll go through the ObservePoint reports, and I'll try to explain how to do that today. So we will start with the alerts. The alerts is a simple feature. It utilizes the ObservePoint reporting. I'm not sure, can you guys see it, more or less? Okay, that's good. So as you can see, this is the pages report, and it gives you the information about how your pages behave. And in this particular use case, I wanted to track the pages which have 2 or more redirects. So as you can see, I have set up a filter for a number of redirects. It's more or less than 2. And all of the report is filtered according to that. And I see those pages here and how they're performing. So the page load time is around 10 seconds, which is probably not that good, right? You don't want to see that on your website. And then the FCP is around 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, which is okay, it's not that bad. And then LCP is around 2.5 seconds. So that's not perfect, right? And I would probably, as a manager, I would want to go to the development team and set up a goal for them to improve the performance of these pages. So what I can do is I can set up ObservePoint alert for this particular situation. I want to put the email of the dev team, of whoever is responsible in the dev team, to track the results of this alert, and I want to set up a goal for them. Go fix this for me. So they will fix it. I'll keep an eye how this is going, how this audit is going, and I'll be receiving notifications until it's fixed. So the goal can be set 2 ways. I want to be notified every time until it still persists, like until these pages are still slow. Or I can set up it the other way. I want to be notified when these pages become fast. Can be done 2 ways. So how would I do that? On the previous slide, you see the bell icon here when you hover over a specific widget on the report. You just click that bell icon. And then you get the modal view where everything's already set up. So the alert already has the metric in place, the threshold in place, which uses the value from the report. You can definitely customize it by clicking the Customize button. But you also can specify the email you want to notify. So in this case, it would be probably you and your responsible dev team. And that's it, basically. If you want to use this alert out of the box, just click Create. It's already assigned to the audit, and next time the audit runs, it will be sending notifications to you. But if you want to customize it, you would go to the Customize button, and here you can change lots of things. And we have tried to build this mechanism to be flexible, so you could set it up as you want. You can choose whatever metrics you want. The first contentful paint is the one I have chosen for this example, but you can choose many of them, and they're available in all of the reports. You can change the operator, you can change the threshold value, you can apply any filters to pages, to the actual data, and other things. Then you can adjust the notifications, you can add some custom message there, you can include up to 10 emails, and you can specify when the alert should be sent, when the notification should be sent. It can be either each time the alert is triggered or when its status changes from triggered to not triggered or vice versa. Right, then we can apply this alert to multiple data sources. So for example, if you have 10 audits which are monitoring your different areas of your website, then you can apply the same first contentful paint alert to all of them, and it will be working for all of them the same way. And finally, the coolest part of this is that you can look back into the history and see how all of those runs which you had in the past have been behaving against this alert. So against the threshold you have chosen for your alert. Basically, it shows you the chart, what values for that specific metric have been in those previous runs. And here you can choose what approximate value you expect in the future. Okay, then the question, how is the reporting on this looks? So the email we get for the alerts, for the triggered alerts, is aggregated per audit. So if you have many alerts assigned to the same audit, you'll get an aggregated email where it will tell what alerts have triggered in this audit at ObservePoint. So for example, you're scanning the landing pages of all of your brands in a single audit, and you want that all of the landing pages would load in just like half a second, for example, for all of the users, right? You would set up alert for that specific audit, and then you would add up probably an alert for I don't want to have unapproved cookies on those pages, I don't want to have other tags than my CMP when the audit is tracking opt-out consent management. And then you get that email, you click a link for a specific alert, and then you get redirected immediately to the audit report, where you can see all of those pages which we were talking about. It gets filtered for you automatically, so you see the exact view you're interested in. And then after that, you can share this report if you want with anyone by clicking the share button at the top. Okay, so this was a very simple example of alerts, and we have a lot of them listed, a lot of different options, possible options of the alerts recommended in ObservePoint help docs. You can take a look. I bet you'll find some use cases which will be relevant for you. And obviously, if you have your specific custom use cases, if you need, come to us, we can help you try to build those alerts for you. Any questions so far? Any questions on the alerts? All right, let's move on to the next one, to tag and variable rules. So this one is a little bit specific, where alerts actually can work with any metrics we have at ObservePoint. Tag and variable rules work specifically with tags and their variables. And it's true on one side, but not exactly true on the other side. At the end of this, at the end of my presentation, we will be doing some practical examples, and I'll show you how tag and variable rules can be used also to monitor any data you want on your website. So, rules. For example, I came to this website, it's bbc.com. I took a look at their tags, and I found one really weird tag. It's AT Internet. It's firing on 39% of the pages out of 1,000, and then it's missing on 61% of the pages. But the weirdest part of it is that it is, on the pages where it's present with different accounts. So basically, it's sending data to different suites, which is unusual, right? You would probably want to have maybe 1 or 2 report suites, but not 8 of them, right? Is that 8? Yeah, probably. So that sounds like a bug to me. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that on all of the pages in this audit where this specific tag is present, only one account is present. So I want to eliminate all of the other test suites because it's reporting data to the wrong places. Well, let's dive deep and let's see how we can fix it. So I drill into a specific page, again on the same report, and then I see that on that page where the correct account was, this tag has been firing multiple times, like 9 times in this case. So I choose the request which I think the most correct, the most accurate, and to create a rule out of it, I just click a plus button, which appears when you hover over the column. And ObservePoint already gives you all of the information with what it knows from that request. It pulls out all of the variables from it. And then it gives you an ability to already select, like pre-select. You don't need to type manually anything. And then you can set up your rule from that. So it already creates the conditions for you. You just need to come and make sure they're completely fine, relevant to you. You can also specify the email addresses to be notified when this rule fails. You can add some labels, change the name. And the best part is this, the conditions tab, where you can specify some filters for this rule. I'll explain it a little bit later. And the conditions, like when this rule will trigger. So the conditions tell you how it should be working. And in our case, I have set it up for this tag for AT Internet to always have the account to be set to this value. And I can also verify the value of certain variable. In this case, up name, I want it to always be BBC. You can change the selectors. It can be anything. You can change the operator. It can be contains, rejects, equals, whatever. And the filter at the beginning is very important. You probably want to be notified about the incorrect account in this tag only if this tag is present on the page. So you don't want to be notified when the tag is missing, because you really care in this particular use case of validating the account for these tags. So if you need to do that, you go to the filter condition and you just change the filter condition, set it up so the tag AT Internet is present, exactly as it did here. And then here's the reporting on all this. Basically, we have set up this rule, and we reprocessed the rule against the audit we just looked at. And as a result, we have a tag and variable rules report where we can see what if conditions have been working, and you see that 605 pages were not applied, and specifically because of that condition, we have set up that where we filtered out the pages which don't have this tag, and then 210 pages had a wrong account, and 105 pages didn't match, the variable up name didn't match to the BBC website variable. And there were 80 pages where everything was good. So imagine that you found out that the variable value you've been tracking, the up name, actually should be different. So how would you change that? You don't need to think on how to find this rule, what to do with it. You just go to the rule details. You see what was the expected value for this rule, what was the actual value, and then we have some cool buttons all around the UI which help you adjust everything right there, where you see the actual value and the expected value. So you click that, and the rule will be updated with this new value, and it will be working against this new value. Okay, any questions on the rules? Nice. Let's switch to consent categories. So they help you manage compliance with privacy regulations, obviously. You can categorize cookies, tags, and request and geolocations in the consent category, in a single consent category. So for example, you can have multiple categories. For example, strictly necessary, functional, analytics, and then in each of them, you can bundle different cookies, different tags, and set up your audits to verify that your CMP actually working correctly. It's blocking the right cookies, the right tags, and only the approved ones are showing up. So how to set it up? We have a special section in our UI called privacy. And in this section, we have a cookies section, tags, requests, domains, and geolocations, and also JavaScript changes, but that's not my topic. We'll talk only about those three first ones. First, I recommend when you set up any ObservePoint standards, I highly recommend to do the data first approach. So do your scan, launch an audit, launch a journey, take a look at your data, try to identify what's right, what's wrong, and then from the UI, it's very easy to set up all of those standards. In this particular case, you just click the, our UI already knows that you don't have any consent categories applied to this particular audit, and it says that the status of those cookies are uncategorized. So you just come to the consent category column, you click Assign button, and then it will give you a screen which allows you to create a new consent category. It will allow you to pull out data from that audit you've been looking at and use that data to mark certain cookies or tags as approved or unapproved. Basically, what you do normally is you launch a scan probably against 1 or 10 pages on your audit. For example, you do the opt-out, or you don't do anything. You just launch that audit, and the data which is already collected in your audit is supposed to be the correct data, right? It should fire only your own cookies, only the first-party cookies. In this case, it's bbc.com. It's supposed to be firing only the CMP tags, and the geolocations should be, in this particular case, I think it's some locations in Europe and the US, right? That's all. So basically you can go, you can approve all this, and from that you can play with it. You can go do opt-out, you can go do opt-in, and you see how it changes, like what data appears on your website. You can opt in into certain categories. For example, you can opt in only in functional cookies and see how it will go, what will it change on your website. And ObservePoint reporting will help you drastically with that, as well as with setting up all of those standards. Right, except of using the data on the report, we also can export the setup from CMP and import it into ObservePoint, and that will give you a jump start. And also we can use the OneTrust importer. So tomorrow, Dave Smith will be telling you much more about it. He will tell how to use it and how it simplifies the process of using the consent categories at ObservePoint if you're using OneTrust. So we have recently added this cool feature, which is called CMP action, to our pre-audit actions at ObservePoint. So they allow you to automate the process of accepting all or rejecting all with your CMP. It is currently integrated with a certain list of CMP providers, like OneTrust, CookieBot, and others. But we will be adding more in the future. And then you can also tell it what to do if ObservePoint is not able to interact with your CMP. Would you want to stop an audit and immediately be notified about that, or you would like to proceed to the next action, which will do a fallback probably to some JavaScript or something like that. Okay, so how does report looks for consent categories? Again, in the privacy cookies section, you see that some of the cookies are approved here. So in my consent category, I have approved only the strictly bbc.com. I don't want cookies from shop.bbc.com to be approved. So in this case, you see that all of them are unapproved. And from here, you can additionally adjust your consent categories. So you can click approve and add to the cookie which you actually think is correct. It's all fine. And again, it's a very easy process. ObservePoint will take care of all routine work for you. Right, and here I want to show how ObservePoint allows you to integrate consent categories and alerts together. I have set up some filters on this report. So as you can see, filters at the top, left to right, our consent category status is unapproved. So I have filtered out all of the approved cookies and kept only the unapproved ones here. I wanted to hide pre-audit action cookies so they don't pollute. Maybe during the pre-audit actions, we were doing some SSO logging, and it added up a bunch of junk cookies which we don't really pay attention to. And then I want the cookie domain to only contain bbc.com. So I'm looking at them, and from here I see the unapproved list, and I can work with them. I can approve some of them or keep on unapproved, and then assign some alerts. So for example, in this setup with these filters, we see that 116 pages have these unapproved cookies. And I want to set up an alert, and again, it can be sent to my dev team, or I can work with it myself, and then try to reduce the amount of these unapproved cookies to 0. Or to a certain amount, try to reduce the amount of pages which have these unapproved cookies to 0, or to a certain amount which I'm good with. Okay, then this is, for example, a way how a good, healthy report could look. And that's how we report on the tag privacy. Here we can see that at bbc.com, we filtered out the tag category by privacy and consent. So we kept only the ones which are responsible for consent management. And as you can see, both of them are approved. They have fired at 800 pages, which probably is good. I suppose the other pages went to some other places which BBC doesn't care about. And there was one page where they had cookie bot for some reason. It's approved, but one page. Doesn't sound right. It should be either on more pages, or it shouldn't exist at all. So they probably need to fix it. Okay. The other part, which is managed with consent categories, is geolocations, request domains, and geolocations. You can see here on the map where the data was going to. In this case, it was yahoo.com. And the data from the website, when I was loading it, actually when ObservePoint robot was loading it, was going to many places around the world. To Japan, in this case, to Australia for some reason, I don't know why. And then to, I think that's like some, like Saudi Arabia or something like that. That sounds a little bit suspicious, so I would probably want to take a look and see what's going on there. I would want to only approve the destinations to be the United States, for example, and United Kingdom, if it's opted out, right? If it's opted in, no problem. It's all fine. Okay? Then integrations. How you can integrate all this stuff into your products. First of all, ObservePoint allows you to specify webhooks when audit runs complete. If you integrate those into your systems, you can then pull out data from ObservePoint and ingest it into your BI tools or anything you prefer. And that's a really powerful tool. If you want to build on top of that, our customer success team can help you a lot with that, and as well as we'll be happy to answer any questions you'll be interested in. And we also want to tell you about the possibility of receiving alerts we are sending, ObservePoint is sending to you, into your tools like Jira, Teams, and Slack. Currently, the way we do this is we have help docs on this topic which explain really well, but we do this through the email integration. So all of these tools, they have a possibility, for example, Slack and Teams, they have a possibility to send messages to Slack channel, email messages. So you just go to Slack, you take out the email address to be sent to, you put it into ObservePoint, and your teams will be notified. And our support team can build many more integrations for you if you need them. We can even send data directly to some of your databases if you would like to. Just let us know. All right, the fun part, the advanced use cases. Let me switch to presentation mode a little bit here. I'll set it up to mirror my display so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, good, more or less. the first use case we will be looking at, let me zoom in. Okay. Hopefully it looks good. So the first use case we'll be looking at, I think it's too small. Probably will go down a little bit. We will be looking at the possibility, so imagine, that ObservePoint someday decides to rebrand. We're currently called as ObservePoint because we're looking at all of the data. And maybe John, he loves yellow color. You see it everywhere, right? He also has a yellow Lamborghini, so imagine that he decides to rebrand his company to Yellow Lamborghini, whatever. Does anyone know in this room how to make sure with ObservePoint that all of the resources, all of the platforms, all of the help docs, everything has the new name instead of ObservePoint? Do we have a person here in the room who knows how to solve this problem with ObservePoint? All right, I see some hands from the crew. Have you guys ever used JavaScript as part of the actions in ObservePoint? Right, you used it? Okay, cool. Do you know how to look through the DOM in your JavaScript? Right, so you can use your JavaScript to look up the DOM, and then there are some ways how ObservePoint allows you to ingest data with your JavaScript into the actual report. And what do you think that could be if you have used JavaScript?
For image, for example.
Okay, sounds good. A little bit complicated way, there is easier. What other options do you know? Like what JavaScript can, what information JavaScript can add to the browser, to the console, for example?
Console logs?
Right, yeah, you can write console logs to your browser with the JavaScript. That's very easy. And guess what? ObservePoint knows about all of your console logs, which are happening in the browser. So it can ingest all of the console logs from the browser. You will be, with your JavaScript, with your on-page action, you will be verifying certain data in your DOM. And then on top of that, you will be able to do some reporting. So let's take a look how it works. We have a simple audit here with 100 pages, and it goes through ObservePoint pages. So what I want to show you is that we already have an on-page action, which you will be amazed how simple it is. All it does is it takes out the DOM, and then in the DOM, it looks for a word ObservePoint. And it checks if it's present, then it prints out the console message to logs saying that rebranding found word ObservePoint. It's just a keyword which you can use later in the report to adjust it. So this, basically one of the tools which you can use to, no, that's too much. One of the tools which you can use to ingest data into ObservePoint reports and then build standards, use standards to alert on top of them. So let's see what the report looks like. Okay. I would want to filter my console messages by the word rebranding. Here we go. So we had only one unique console message, but it tells me how many pages it was present on. So in this case, it was present on 99 pages. And those 99 pages are here at the bottom. So from here, I already can set up the alert and tell my team what pages need to be adjusted to make sure that the rebranding went all the way through and we didn't leave nasty ObservePoint word anywhere. We want yellow Lamborghini everywhere. Okay, that's the first example. Does it trigger any thoughts, any possible applications for you, for your use cases? Do you have any questions for it so far? Okay. Okay, sounds good. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one will be about journeys. So with this journey, we'll try to see how the tagging implementation works, and specifically in the journeys. We'll try to see how to simply create a rule from the journey report. In this case, we have the data layer tag and also a Google Analytics 4 tag. So imagine that you want to control version of the Google Analytics 4 tag with your data layer. So you want to load, for example, you have a specific list of different tag versions in your data layer, and you want to load the specific versions, the ones specified in your data layer from the configuration of your website or whatever. So you can go to Google Analytics, for example. You can find a variable called version, and I think it will be easier this way. So I just click the button plus, which again gives me ability to create a rule based off the data from the report. I'll find the version variable. All right. So there are two. There is tag version and v. I think I'm worried about the v variable. So let's take a look. Let's give it some name. Tag version check. All right, and we can click customize. In the conditions, we already have everything in place. Google Analytics, its account, the v variable, and saying that it's equals to string with value 2. But imagine that you need a way to match the Google Analytics to your data layer tag. How you do that is you change the selector which you use in your variable condition. And you actually specify that it should be a data layer. And then you can tell it what specific variable from the data layer you want to match it to. And in my case, the data layer is an array. So I need to go into the array, into multiple objects inside of it, and then use regex to actually match to the correct variable in the correct object. And ObservePoint has a very cool tool for you. It's called regex.observepoint.com. You can verify different regexes, how they work, and if they will work at ObservePoint. And here you can see that I have found the specific, let me zoom it in. I have found the specific regex which matches my version variable. So it will be in the 10th object. It will be inside of the GA4 object and the version. So I take this regex, I take it to my rule. Here we go. And that's it. So GA4 version will be verified against the data layer variable. That's cool. And then when you do this verification, you'll get alerted if the version is different. We also have a lot of helpful help docs saying how to monitor your data layer, how to work with it, the best practices of it. And here you can find lots of useful materials from the customer success team. Overall, ObservePoint help docs are very good. Highly recommend to get there. Let's switch to the next use case. Any questions on the data layer and rules and journeys so far? Okay. The next use case will be on privacy. So, do you know what you need to implement in order to be GDPR compliant? What are the crucial parts of it?
CMP.
Right? You need to implement your CMP. You need to make sure that your privacy policy is available on your website and it is actually on all of the pages so users can easily access it. Anything else? Okay, so in this particular use case, I'll show you how to verify that the privacy policy is actually in place. So how we do that? Again, on-page action, but in this case, a little bit different and a little bit more complicated. With this on-page action, I want to show you how the ObservePoint custom tags are working. They allow you to ingest data from your page with the JavaScript into a specific entity which ObservePoint has created intentionally. It does not exist on your website, but it appears in the reporting as a tag. So you can take out any information from your DOM, from your website, and then put it into the ObservePoint data tag, which is ObservePoint custom tag. And we have a help doc again, which helps you checking the privacy policy link with your custom tag. You can use it later to verify this use case in your particular company with your website. But now, this section, what it does, it looks for any links which have a reference to privacy policy, and then it adds up a specific variable to the custom tag, which is called privacy policy present, and it will put true or false if it's present. Right? So it's already done here, and I want to show you how the reporting will look when you're finished. So as you can see, there is a variable inventory report, and there is a tag called ObservePoint data with ObservePoint logo on it. And as you can see, it has a variable, privacy policy present, the one which I just showed you in the action, and the number of unique values. And obviously, if it's Boolean, it's true or false, right? So let's see what are those values. It's true and false. The false was present on 58 pages, which means that privacy policy was not available on 58 pages. So let's expand that. And those pages are from different languages. So some of them are in French, some of them are some other countries. And probably they're in different language and the link is different, so maybe that's okay. But that's basically a tool which you can use in your reporting to verify what's going on your website, not only about cookies, tags, or requests and geolocations, but about basically any data. So you can use console messages very easily, and you can use ObservePoint custom tag for that. All right, and the last one is CMP. I think that's the most interesting one. So here we have the adobe.com website, and I think in this audit we only have one page, and this page has been scanned by ObservePoint, but it doesn't have any consent categories or anything like that yet. And basically all of the cookies we see here, let me zoom it out a little bit. All of them have the adobe.com domain, which is correct. That's the use case I was talking at the beginning about. So from here, you can go and create a consent category. You will create a new one. You'll name it Adobe Approved, for example. And then you'll pull data from this particular audit. And you can choose which cookies do you want to approve. So in my case, let's say I'll choose only one. And then I want to choose only Adobe Launch to be approved. And then I'll tell create and close. And here I can do a simple thing. I want to say that I want any adobe.com cookies to be approved. So anything which is adobe.com and any of its subdomains should be approved. I think this should go like this. Right, again, this is a regex which you can verify. You click Much Regex, you check that the tags are in place, and that's it. Save and close. It's already saved. It's already here in the list. You just save changes. ObservePoint will tell you that you have added extra consent category, and you might want to reprocess those consent categories right now. So I'll just click Yes, Reprocess, and it will be reprocessing the results for it. But this audit does not have any CMP actions, so let's take a look how those look. We go to pre-audit actions, and we have a specific custom action which is called consent management state. You specify the URL where your consent manager is located, and then you specify reject, or accept all, and then you tell what to do. And that's it. You have applied the consent category, you have specified the CMP action, and then you look to the report, see what's approved, what's unapproved. As you can see, there is a bunch of cookies here, even though I have rejected all of them. There is a bunch of cookies which are not adobe.com. So I might ask a question, why is this happening? Are all of them strictly necessary? And the problem is that the amount of pages they're in is very low, so that's probably a mistake. Yeah.
So do you have like a database of well-known cookies that can help me figure out what most of those cookies are? Because going through them, sometimes you just lost. You don't know what those cookies are about. And I'm sure that a lot of people, a lot of sites use the same integrations, hence the same cookies appear. Do you have like a well-known cookie database?
Right, that's a very good question. We do not have a very well defined cookie database, but we have heard this feedback for quite a few times already, and that might be the priority for the company in the future, but it's not set in stone yet. So I cannot promise anything, but that's a very good feedback. Thank you for that. And then answering your second question, like how do you really understand these cookies and what to do with them? I think the parts you want to pay attention to are the domains and where those cookies are coming from, like which tags are setting those cookies. And ObservePoint gives you that information. So you can go to the initiators information about those cookies, and you can see that OneTrust CMP banner have set up this cookie. Or you can see that in this case, for example, there are many initiators. There are multiple HTTP calls that set this cookie, as well as Adobe Launch and some other Adobe products. So ObservePoint gives you ability to look into it not from the cookie names perspective, but the history where those cookies are coming from. Did they come from pre-audit action? Did they come from on-page action? From what tags? And maybe that will give you a clue what to do with them.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
About the one issue of the GDPR, which is about the data points that or the variables that are being collected by the tag. And for the time being, we are mainly using to support if anything new or any new variable is showing up. We are using the JavaScript file changes in the comparison, but it seems like it's still not like the perfect solution for that. Is there something on the pipeline development to really have an easy way to tag, to control a bunch of tags really, if they change actually in terms of the data they are collecting?
Right, so I think I've heard two questions here. One question is, how do you verify that the data collected by our tags changes? So basically, if those tags send different data than they were sending a week ago, right? And then the other question was about the JavaScript file changes. So basically, verifying if the JavaScript file has changed, the actual file, right? So verifying if the data has been changed can be done with the comparisons feature, which we have. I don't know if you have noticed it, but in the configuration, we have the separate section called comparisons. And you can go here and set it up and try to understand how run over run or one time the data changes. And then checking the difference between the JavaScript files. I think the only solution to that is basically using the JavaScript file changes report so far. Is there anything you see already that could be done better, could be done differently?
No. It's, my point is we are limited on the comparison, I think, to 3 maximum or 4 tags.
Right, yeah.
So this is the constraint we sometimes feel when we are having.
So you would like to expand it. You would like to basically be able to analyze more data.
Especially third-party ad techs.
Okay.
Which other guys we don't trust really, so
right.
Or we trust the less.
Right. Makes sense. Perfect. That was a very good question, and I think I have a gift for you. For a good questions gift.
Thank you so much.
There you go. This is Portuguese coffee. It's actually not Portuguese. It came from Kenya, but it was roasted in Portugal. Really good quality. You can take it home and enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm done. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.